So it's a voluntary option for employees to receive a microchip in their hand, and where they receive it is between the thumb and the forefinger. It's going to be about the size of a grain of rice, and that microchip is an RFID chip. So what an RFID chip is it works with near field communication, so any NFC terminals. So a lot of the credit card readers out there right now use NFC terminals, which right now it allows you to use your cell phone to tap to pay. The chip implant is going to allow us to finalize payments in our break room market here by holding your hand up to the NFC terminal and finalizing your payment through there. So we're going to put it in between the thumb and the forefinger here, and it's going to be about the size of a grain of rice, and we'll have it right in here. I think a lot of it is just a comfort level of seeing another person have it for an extended period of time, and that's kind of how everything goes. Certain people and generations didn't want to switch to the iPhone because they didn't feel comfortable with it, so they kept their flip phone forever. And then they made the jump to the iPhone, and they love the iPhone now. So, you know, it's a comfort level.
Scientists are attempting to build DNA from scratch. Researchers at New York University are working to create custom-made DNA that will be inserted into living cells. This changes how the cells work and could provide treatments for diseases. In the past, scientists have only been able to make changes in the DNA code, but now they're hoping to start over by building and redesigning life forms. Researchers from Northwestern University find the attempt unsettling and say the work would disturb people who believe creating life from scratch would give humans unwarranted power.
This is 58-year-old Craig Jerry, enjoying his Starbucks order and working on an iPad at 5:30 Thursday evening at the Starbucks store on Golden State near Herndon and Highway 99 in Fresno. Suddenly, a man holding a yellow bag wearing an Optimus Prime Transformers mask flashes by and heads to the register. Jerry watches as the man threatens the clerk with a fake gun and eventually a buck knife, demanding money. Police investigators say the man in the mask is 30-year-old Ryan Michael Flores. And what Flores doesn't realize is Craig Jerry has made up his mind. With a chair in hand, he plans to stop the robbery attempt. Jerry hits Flores from behind and a fight ensues. Investigators say Jerry was stabbed in the neck during the struggle, but managed to wrestle away the knife and stab Flores several times. Flores would flee the store and was later arrested by police.
There's probably not very many people in America that would do what Craig Jerry did last night. That was incredibly heroic, and it is the way that I would think most people would think that they would respond, but may not have the courage to respond.
So this is human beings. This is a Holocaust that is occurring in our land. 4,000 children every year. And so we come out to oppose that.
Operation Save America, a Texas-based pro-life group, has been holding vigils outside the clinic, the only one left in the state. Its long-term goal is to make Kentucky a national model in its push to end abortion in America. Across the country, a growing number of abortion facilities have been forced to close for failing to meet new health and safety guidelines.
2 of the abortion mills were shut down, and we have 1 left. And we feel like Kentucky stands ready to be the first state without an abortion center.
Last week, a federal judge issued an order forcing protesters to stay away from a buffer zone outside the Louisville clinic. Protesters will be arrested if they cross the boundaries of the zone. Pro-choice leaders say the order is needed to give women privacy while entering the facility.
Just trying to create a little space at the entrance so women can access their medical care.
Our federal government has become a tyrannical beast. It's a serpent, and it is protecting murder. and it's taking away rights.
Meanwhile, it's clear where Kentucky's Republican Governor Matt Bevin stands on the issue.
It is a state where the vast majority of Kentuckians value the sanctity of human life and want to protect it to the absolute degree possible.
Baltimore police are investigating video that appears to show an officer planting evidence in a drug case. He places a can in a trash-filled lot, seemingly unaware his body camera is recording. Moments later, he retrieves the can, which contained a bag of white capsules. Prosecutors have now dropped charges against the man arrested for drugs.
Meanwhile, a German teenager who ran away from home after converting to Islam says she now wants to go home. The 16-year-old, known as Linda, reportedly told a German newspaper she has had enough of the violence. Officials say Linda was found on Saturday as Iraqi forces liberated Mosul from ISIS militants. She is currently recovering from a bullet wound in a military hospital in Baghdad. The teen will be questioned by Iraqi officials next week.
Our country loses hundreds of World War II veterans each day, and with their passing, we lose great patriotism. 92-year-old Howard Banks is still here in Kaufman, Texas, defending the flag.
Go all the way back, our Star-Spangled Banner, our flag was still there.
Banks's American and Marine Corps flags are still flying after vandals tried to destroy them. He says they've shredded them before, throwing them in a ditch. Banks says earlier this month he heard noises coming from the flagpole and went out front to find out what was going on. But Banks can't see. He was blinded by a flare on Iwo Jima when he was 20 years old. In his front yard, someone pushed him to the ground, and the vandals got away without being seen.
We've honored our flag all that time, and doggone it, with our social climate the way it is, doggone it, we need something to rally around, and that's our flag.
And as any Marine will tell you,
how you doing, Marine?
Hello, I'm Howard Banks.
I'm Corey.
They also rally around each other.
I got a group of Marines here want to come in and meet you.
Marines who toured in Iraq and Afghanistan heard Banks' story and had to meet him.
You know, first you start messing with the American flag, I get real hot under the collar, and then when I found out that they yanked the Marine Corps flag down, that made my bottom spicy. And
it's a shame. You know, this guy's living history. You know, he's a national treasure. You know, people should be lined up on his porch to talk to him, you know, not ripping his flags down.
Sunday afternoon was spent swapping stories and surprising him with an honor flight to Washington, D.C. to see the World War II memorial.
Once a Marine, always a Marine. I try to live that way.
Kaufman police are investigating the attack. Banks now has cameras on his home, but what might deter the culprits most are words from this Marine.
We need to respect our flag. That is something that is a symbol of this country. It's a symbol of what we stand for as a beacon of hope for liberty in this world. And if you can't respect that, then we don't really want you here.
Well, a Veterans Park in Belle Plaine City, Minnesota once featured a small Christian monument. That was dangerous and offensive, of course. So there were lawsuit threats, and the city declared the monument's location a free speech zone. But that, in turn, drew the attention of a Satanist group, which wanted to erect a satanic shrine in the park. Now, the city is reversing itself and has decided to remove all religious symbols from the park instead. Lucien Greaves is the co-founder of the Satanic Temple, and he joins us tonight. Lucien, thanks for joining us. I don't know much about Satanism. What are the 5 pillars of Satanism? What is it?
We have 7 tenets, actually, and actually they're irrelevant to our claim to be allowed in the free speech zone.
Well, they're relevant to your claim to be a wait, slow down. They're relevant to your claim to be a religion, and so I just give us a sense of what it is.
Actually, us being a religion has no bearing on us having
I'm
a claim
aware
to the free
of that,
speech zone either.
but you do claim to be a religion. I just want to know what it is. Is it the worship of Satan?
No, we're actually non-theistic, and modern Satanism has been recognized as non-theistic for some time now. There are actually scholars of modern Satanism. There's books about new religion that cover Satanism. But as I said, it really has no bearing on our claim to access to the free speech zone.
I guess the reason I'm pressing you on this is because I sort of know a fake media story when I see one, and the whole Satanism thing seems like that. And I'm trying to take you seriously because I take religious people seriously, all of them. But this seems like a way to just kind of give the finger to everyone else. I mean, there are probably not a lot of Satanists in this town of 6,600 in Minnesota, are there?
Well, there are some, and there are veterans. There's a good deal of veterans within our ranks. We have about 100,000 members, many veterans, and there are veterans who don't identify with us who still stood up for our right to speak, and we find that very often when we ask for equal access in the open forum. It's usually veterans who come forward and speak in our defense, and they say these values of free speech and pluralism are the values that they fought for.
Amen, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Hence your appearance tonight. I think people should have a right to speak, but also they should have to answer questions. And the right to speak and the right to sort of give the finger to the residents of this little town in Minnesota, not exactly.
That was not what we were doing. The monument, no, of course it is not. So if you look at the monument, it's very respectful, it's reverent, it's a very sober, simple monument, really, and it encourages.
It's a monument to what?
To veterans. This was first and foremost something to honor the veterans who have fought and served. All veterans. Not all veterans are Christian. Not all veterans are Satanists. But they did fight for pluralism and they did fight for free speech. And to that end, it's nice to know that we can preserve those values. When they shut down the open forum, we weren't actually celebrating that. We built this monument. We were ready to install it. We wanted to put it there. And it seemed like the residents of Belle Plaine weren't entirely up in arms about this. Some of the word we got back said people thought our monument design wasn't anything to complain about. The protesters from a Catholic organization, they also were out of state. And we get this stuff about a small town and beating up on a small town, but there's no regional boundaries on free speech.
Really, I don't know, try it in downtown Birmingham, Alabama, or Chicago or something. But I mean, look, here's the point I'm making, is that there's no comparison between Satanism, which is like a silly made-up religion which has no God, even non-theistic as you conceded, and Christianity or Judaism or Islam, which, you agree or disagree, believe or not, but they're millennia old. They run hospitals, churches, schools. They form the basis of our civil society. They don't really compare to what you're doing, do they?
Well, we're getting there. We're a very growing population, and we should defend pluralism and free speech. We can't allow America to divide itself into regional theocracies. Imagine a place like Clearwater, Florida, which is almost entirely colonized by Scientologists. Are they going to shut down the open forum for only veneration of L. Ron Hubbard, or introduce Dianetics as compulsory in their schools? And imagine the civil war that would ensue if Muslims
I agree with your point strongly that people ought to be allowed to express divergent views in public. I just don't want to be sucked into the trap of having to take seriously what is clearly not a serious thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's one thing for me to agree with you and say, yeah, we're both for free speech, but this
if we weren't being serious, I would understand what you're saying. I think if you learn anything about the Satanic Temple, you'll see that we must be serious. We can't have these types of numbers. We have chapters internationally. We're quickly
growing. I don't believe your numbers for a second. And I mean, I don't. What is that even? So, like on
you don't have to.
Well, I don't believe the numbers of any group that comes on that show. I always divide by 10, and that's probably an overstatement for any group, but especially yours. But before we go, just tell us.
Okay, so what if it were 2? So what if it were 2?
The principle would be
we still have equal access to the open forum.
You would have the right to say what you think if it was just you, and I would be willing to defend that right. But again, the point of calling this Satanism is to horrify, like, normal people in the middle of the country. That is exactly the point.
That's not true. No, no, that is not exactly the point.
So what is the point? Just
and
sum
I will
it up for
argue
me.
that point.
I'll give you 30 seconds. What's the point of Satanism?
Well, to sum up a religious movement and its history in 30 seconds isn't quite fair, but I would say that. But I would say that Satanism embodies Enlightenment values. It is emblematic of the ultimate rebellion against tyranny. To that end, we look at the history of the crushing of the church and the rise of Enlightenment values and the rise of pluralism and diversity and multiculturalism as inherently satanic.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is you're taking a Christian symbol, Satan, and using it against Christians. I mean, that's kind of the point, because you could have chosen sort of anything to name this group, since it's basically new, and you didn't. You chose the one thing that Christians hate the most. So again, it's
because Satanism means something to us. It's not an arbitrary label.
Right. I wish you were more
I think you could really get into it.
Yeah, probably not.
Who wants to be a drag queen when they grow up? ready for a story. The hips on the drag queen go swish, 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 swish.
Drag Queen Story Hour is fantastic because it addresses all of these issues of gender fluidity and self-acceptance.
It was great. So much energy. Did you like it? Yeah.
Well, it's a message about power. The group in question, the so-called Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, is sending a message that they have the power to enter into the public domain, a publicly funded institution, I believe, not a private one, and to essentially hold a catechism class for this new religion that they've created, a religion of hedonism, of self-indulgence.
A little bit of a tomboy.
We should be bold in our witness. We should speak the truth, always in love, by the way, always charitably, but boldly, unapologetically, firmly, without trimming. What we need really is courage.